There are some outstanding games in college football this week, and I'm going to talk about three of them. That's right, three of them in this segment. One is not as outstanding as the others, but I want to start in the ACC. Do you realize this is a battle of conference unbeatens taking place in Durham this week? Georgia Tech is going on the road, and the 12th ranked team in the country, top 10 in my top 25, is an underdog by 1.5 points. There's a very clear reason for that. The answer is Darien Mensah. Darien Mensah, Duke being at home, that plays a factor as well. Darien Mensah got off to, let's call it a slow start. The Illinois game, the Tulane game, not good for the Blue Devils. Since they've gotten into conference play, where think whatever you want of the ACC, Duke has looked like the team that I thought they would be before the year. And if Duke wins this game, they're going to cause a shakeup. If you are an ACC needs to get two teams into the playoffs sort of guy, boy, you want Duke to lose this football game and Georgia Tech stay undefeated. Yellowjackets are 6-0, and they are perhaps the most balanced team in the country. I don't know if there's another team that can do offensively at this point in the year what Georgia Tech has done. The Yellowjackets throw for 238.8 yards per game. Through 6 games, they haven't lost. They are running for 238 yards per game. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's darn good. Haynes King is one of the most likable players in college football, and you have two quarterbacks that could not be more different in this game. Mensah has thrown for over 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns against just 2 interceptions. Just 2. That's it. They did not get off to a good... It looked like Duke was headed for a letdown sort of year. But remember, this is a program that went out and paid real money for Darien Mensah's services. And he looks like that guy right now. He is going to stand in the pocket. He can move. Make no mistake about it, he can move. But he's going to throw the football. Haynes King, on the other hand, you're just hoping he throws the football well enough. I am so torn picking this game. So unbelievably torn. So torn, as a matter of fact, I'm not picking the game right now. I'm just giving you an idea of what to expect and why this is a game that needs to be on your radar. Because Duke has an opportunity to control their own destiny to make the ACC championship game and therefore the college football playoff. Do we all understand that? Does that seem unreasonable in the ACC with Clemson's downfall? Louisville's just okay. Georgia Tech is that next team after Miami, right? Georgia Tech is an underdog this week. Is Vegas right again about favoring an unranked team against a ranked opponent? Maybe they are. They have been right many a times. Duke is at home. I'm very interested to see how this game plays out. So keep an eye on that particular matchup. How about another one? The higher ranked team is an underdog. Does that make it an upset? I was debating with a few of you about this last week on the show because I posed the idea that USC was going to upset Michigan. And some people said, whoa. This is not an upset. They weren't that nice about it, but that's okay. This is not an upset. USC is favored. I said, well, wait, USC isn't ranked. They were ranked in my top 25. They were not ranked in the AP top 25. But isn't that how we define upset? The team is Vegas determining the upsets now? Our friends at FanDuel that are providing all these odds, is that where we're at? Because I always thought it was you're ranked or you're not ranked. I'm not really clear. But in my experience, it's who's the higher ranked team. That's the way it's always been interpreted in my head. And those are the people that I talk to. But maybe people see it differently. Maybe they see it differently. But Vanderbilt is a 2.5 point favorite. There's a reason. Vanderbilt is just a straight up good football team. I worry about LSU's offense. I don't worry about LSU's defense. The total in this game is 48.5 points. And LSU played a fine game last week. They beat South Carolina. For whatever it's worth, they covered the 8.5 point spread they had. The final score was 20-10. LSU ran the ball better. They ran the ball better. I think that's the best thing I can say about the Tigers. They ran the ball better. Okay. These are two teams battling for their playoff lives. If you lose this game, you have to win out and maybe even get some help. You can't guarantee, you can all but guarantee, but you can't 100% guarantee that 10-2 gets you in the playoff. But when you consider the schedules both these teams still have to endure, LSU still has to play Alabama. Vanderbilt still has to play Tennessee. You want to go down that stretch trying to get to 10-2 because 9-3 we saw last year didn't get you in the playoff. I don't know that it will this season. Maybe it'll be different. But the biggest thing on the line in this game is that the winner gets to control their own path to the playoff. And you could not have two different levels or different types, I should say, of urgency for these two teams. For LSU, it is we have to make the playoff or else we're going to start to question our head coach. And for Vanderbilt, it's we have to find a way to make the college football playoff because what are we going to be after this season without Diego Pavia? That's an interesting offseason conversation because I think Vanderbilt has elevated their brand beyond what it used to be. Is that going to pay off on the trail? I don't know. We're going to find out. But at the very least, you will not have the most memorable Vanderbilt quarterback in recent memory after this season. And so the pressure on both of these teams, I think there's more traditional pressure on LSU, but there is an urgency for the Vanderbilt side of things. Fascinating matchup. I'm going to make all my picks later this week. It's too early. When games are going to be this tight, this competitive, I need thoughts to sit, marinate, and really simmer. But Friday's prediction show is going to have a lot of games because, boy, there are a lot of big college football games. But that is AP number 17 favored at home over AP number 10. Now, those two games are living up to the bill. And here's a game that isn't. Oklahoma, why did I say Oklahoma State? I'm teasing you there because we all know that Oklahoma State is not playing any game we care about this year. Arizona State, on the other hand, is. Arizona State is going to try to be the first team to beat Texas Tech this week. Boy, they have to have Sam Leavitt play. Every starting quarterback is important. Every team needs to have a starting quarterback because he's better in the backup. That's why he's a starter. That is perhaps nowhere more true than it is for the Arizona State Sun Devils, who with Jeff Sims last week, without Sam Leavitt at quarterback, went into Salt Lake City, a place that Texas Tech has showed you can be defeated, and they lost the game 42-10. It wasn't close. It never was. Arizona State has no ability to play complementary football if Sam Leavitt doesn't play. Hopefully he gets back into it. Even if he does, I can't pick against Texas Tech. Not just because they are my beloved Red Raiders, who I have heaped praise upon since the early part of the offseason, and they are living up to the billing, maybe even somehow exceeding my expectations. If Sam Leavitt doesn't play, this will get ugly. If Sam Leavitt does play, Texas Tech is certainly on upset alert. I will not pick them to lose this football game. It's just a matter of whether they cover the 11.5-point spread. But the health of the quarterbacks in this game is not limited to a discussion for Arizona State because Baron Morton has been in and out. And I just keep wondering this, and I think it stinks that we have to be in this spot, but we do. The biggest question for Texas Tech going forward, and I know Will Hammond played very well on the road against Utah last time out. He looked a little bit more human, more like a backup quarterback, which is kind of what you expect. Some peaks and some valleys as well. I would hate for Texas Tech to have all the promise of this season and have it eventually get derailed by an injury to their starting quarterback. That would suck. That would really, really stink for Red Raider fans. Because this is a team that can not just win the Big 12. If you did the hypothetical that you hear a lot from SEC country, well, take a good SEC team, they would roll through the Big 12. They'd go undefeated. It would look like what Texas Tech is doing to the Big 12 conference right now. That's what it would be. That's just a hypothetical, though. We don't need to go further down that road. So I'd rather see the quarterbacks play. This is why, even though it's annoying, the NFL has such strict roughing the passer penalties. They want quarterbacks to stay on the field. Sam Leavitt runs a lot. He's been dinged up. Hopefully he plays. Baron Morton has been dinged up. Hopefully he plays. This game, not as big as it was supposed to be before the year. Heck, even a couple weeks into the season, not as big as it was supposed to be. I think that's unfortunate, which is why I bring up the Duke-Georgia Tech game. That's going to be awesome. It's why I bring up Vandy and LSU. That game should be really awesome. Nashville should be on fire. How about that sentence?